It was supposed to be just another lazy summer week. 11-year-old Evan Morden had been dropped off at his grandmother's house in Pine Hollow, a quiet town framed by evergreens and silence. His mom needed to work, and Nana Jean, as always, had a guest room ready, cookies in the jar, and rules about bedtime that were more suggestions than mandates. But on the third afternoon, while Jean was out running errands, Evan climbed the attic ladder for the first time. She'd always told him not to, just old junk and insulation. But curiosity, as it tends to do with boys his age, won out. In the dust-choked air beneath the rafters, he found a wooden box shoved behind an old trunk. No lock, just initials carved faintly on top. R.W. His grandfather, Robert West, who had died 2 years earlier, and who, by family consensus, wasn't a man of many words. Inside the box, a rusted camera, a pair of strange skeleton keys, and a thick envelope marked in all caps, "Do not open unless you're ready to know." Evan opened it. Inside was a letter, a map, a photo, old, yellowed and marked with an X over one child's face. No one knows exactly what Evan did next, but by the next morning, he was gone, vanished. The first hour passed with no alarm. Jean assumed Evan was still sleeping. It was summer after all. By 9:30, she checked his room. Empty, shoes gone. The attic door was slightly ajar. She called out, checked the backyard, the shed. Nothing. By noon, she'd called the police. Search teams combed the surrounding woods. Volunteers walked shoulder to shoulder through the ravines and creek beds. Dogs picked up a trail, but lost it beyond the ridge. Drones scanned the area with infrared. Nothing. Evan's mother, Allison, arrived by nightfall, hysterical, certain he'd been abducted. But inside the attic, tucked beneath the insulation, officers found the box, and inside it, the note Evan had clearly read, the map, the photograph, a group of children at a summer camp, circa 1970s, with one child's face violently crossed out in red pen. A typed clipping from an old newspaper article. Boy missing after fire at Camp Hollow Creek. No body found. On the back of the map, in a hand no child could fake, a message was scrawled. "This was my secret. I buried it too deep. If you're reading this, forgive me." Jean froze when she saw the handwriting. "That's Robert's," she whispered. "That's my husband's." But Robert was supposed to have been an engineer, a quiet man, a veteran, a grandfather. No one ever said anything about a missing boy or a fire. No one said anything at all, except now, it seemed, Evan had gone looking for the truth. The clipping came from the Pine Hollow Gazette, dated July 18, 1974, a small piece, barely 150 words. It reported a fire that broke out near the Hollow Creek summer camp. One structure destroyed. One boy, 13-year-old Benjamin Halloran, reported missing, presumed dead. No foul play suspected. No body recovered. The camp closed a year later. The article disappeared into microfilm drawers and forgotten archives. But someone had kept it. Someone who'd lived with the memory for decades. Robert West had been 23 in 1974, a junior counselor at Hollow Creek. There was no public record tying him to the incident, but in the camp's final staff photo, unearthed from a library basement, there he was, standing at the end of the row, stiff, alone. Journalists found no mention of Benjamin Halloran in any family obituaries. No school records after that summer. the trail ended with that fire. Evan, it seems, had taken the map and followed it. According to search logs, his likely path matched the old trail system behind the abandoned campgrounds, a network mostly reclaimed by forest. On foot, it would have taken him 2 to 3 hours. A ranger who reviewed the route said, "That's not a place a kid ends up by accident." Investigators believe Evan was determined, driven by whatever he read in that letter, whatever his grandfather confessed. But they were unprepared for what they found next. Footage on the rusted camera, newly developed from a half-shot roll of 35mm film. Footage that should have never existed. The camera was an old Minolta, jammed, dusty, but still intact. Investigators found it buried in the bottom of the attic box, wrapped in a faded camp t-shirt. Inside, a roll of undeveloped 35mm film, about half exposed. At first, no one thought much of it, until the negatives came back. 12 frames. Most were blurry, sun-faded. Kids sitting at a picnic table, a canoe, a group around a campfire. Nothing unusual until frame 9. It showed a boy, small, dark-haired, looking directly into the camera, mouth open mid-sentence. His expression was alarmed. Behind him, a cabin engulfed in smoke, flames licking at the roofline. In frame 10, the boy was gone. Just the smoke, thicker now. Trees darkened in the background. Frame 11 was shot from inside what appeared to be a cellar or crawl space. A dirt wall, a pair of boots in the foreground, too large to be a child's. And frame 12. Frame 12 was black. Lab technicians confirmed the film was authentic, not tampered with. The timestamp and composition matched the camera's original settings. Jean stared at the photos for a long time. Then she whispered, "That's not Benjamin." When asked what she meant, she clarified, "That's not the missing boy. That's Robert. That's my husband. That was him watching it happen." It changed everything. Evan hadn't just uncovered a mystery. He had seen his grandfather's truth. A truth kept sealed in dust and guilt for 50 years. And now, he was missing too. 9 days after Evan vanished, searchers found his backpack wedged beneath the roots of a fallen tree near Rose Creek, a shallow tributary running just beyond the old Hollow Creek campgrounds. Inside were trail mix wrappers, a flashlight, and the map. But it wasn't the same map. This version had additional marks, ones not seen in the original attic copy. A red circle drawn around an unmarked bend in the trail. A crude arrow pointing toward what looked like a ravine. Next to it, Evan had written 2 words in block letters, "I heard it." Divers combed the creek. Rescue teams scaled the embankments, but the terrain was unstable. At the base of the ravine, they found a rusted ventilation grate, bolted, half collapsed, and buried beneath years of mud and leaves. An old entry point, possibly part of the original camp's storm cellar system. Footprints, small ones, led directly to it. One set, no return. Inside, just past the collapsed grate, they found fragments of a torn backpack strap. No blood, no body. The area had partially caved in. The official report labeled it an accidental disappearance, a tragic case of a curious child going too far into unstable terrain. But the evidence didn't sit right with anyone who'd followed the case closely. Not the marks on the map, not the timing, not the message on the page left back in the attic. "I'm not running, I'm finding out," Someone has to. It wasn't a game. Evan had gone looking for something his grandfather never could face. And whatever he found, he hadn't come back to tell it. The Morgan family moved out of Pine Hollow 6 weeks after the final search effort was called off. The house went quiet. The attic was sealed. Jean now lives in assisted housing 3 counties away. She doesn't speak to reporters anymore. But before she left, she handed one final item to authorities. Something they'd missed during the initial investigation. A note, yellowed and fragile, wedged in the bottom seam of the wooden box Evan had found. It was written in the same blocky, deliberate hand as the letter that started it all. Dated 1981, signed simply R.W. I tried to forget. I thought I had. But when Evan was born, it came back. Not what I did, but what I didn't do. I heard him calling, and I walked away. I was young, afraid. He trusted me. I failed him. Some truths rot in silence. Others wait to be named. If this box is open, I'm gone. And if a boy is reading this, I hope, God, I hope, he's braver than I ever was. Investigators called off further excavation near the collapsed vent. Too dangerous, too costly. Officially, Evan is still missing. Unofficially, no one believes he's coming back. And the box, with its ashes of memory and maps to unburied guilt, now sits in an evidence locker, sealed again. Just wood and paper, and a silence too loud to ignore. In the words of one local deputy, that kid didn't vanish. He followed something. And maybe, somehow, he gave someone peace.